Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Shalom, hotep, salam Allah. Peace to the gods, peace to the goddesses. I'm your brother in the struggle, brother minister Alif Allah. And today, family, I wanted to share with you some excerpts from a new newsletter that we just sparked, the noireport. This newsletter, we took and printed up just 2,000 copies. It's going into 386 different prisons worldwide. We sending it out for free. Now, I know a lot of you spooky brothers and sisters in the struggle out there. I want you to understand, I did this personally from the muscle. I mean, I had to go in my own pocket to do this. The newsletter is $3 each. We got advertising rates in there. We got subscription, 6 months, 1 year, whatever. But on my side, I have two digital printers. I got an HP printer and I got the brand new color printer. But on my side, I want you just to give you some reality. The reality is this. Those of you that deal with HP printers understand when you buy HP laser printer, it's like back when I got it was like 600, somewhere around there. And the ink cartridges, if you go to Best Buy or whatever, I usually go to Best Buy. If you go to Staples or whatever, if you look it up on your phone, whatever, one ink cartridge costs $80. It takes a blue, yellow, red, and black ink cartridge. You get like 1,000 pages. So technically on my side, it's like over $350 just for the ink cartridge and the paper, the mailing envelopes, the postage, the editing, the taking the time to write the articles and do the research. I'm gonna give y'all that. I don't give y'all that mediocre stuff. One thing about me, anybody that studied the teachers of Most Humble Elijah, they be like, yo, he gonna give you the sciences of life. But it takes time, it takes money, it takes effort to do that. And when you don't have support, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, these spooky people really think it's a mystery God on a mother plane that's gonna pay some bills around here. It don't happen like that in reality, family. And what you do is you get a 10%, the rich, the slave makers of the poor, the opportunity to not just oppress, but to suppress the poor righteous teachers, the 5%, those that sincerely try to teach you the reality of God and his messenger. So, you see we keep that flag up front. Know what I mean? I don't put the flag up front today. I'm the type that I've been doing this family for over 40 years. For over 40 years, we never had a year where we did not take and push the Messengers program to the belly of the beast in newsletter form. Now, I mean, back in the early 80s, like 83, we had what's called Them Teachings. Them was an acronym. It would say T period, H period, E period, M period. Them Teachings, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings. We was given a raw back then. Now, I mean, using flex pens. Like you didn't even have a regular ink pen. You had to use what's called flex pens because, the devil didn't want us stabbing nobody with an ink pen or whatever. So we used to have flex pens and it used to tear my hands up so much that I used to have giant, huge muscles on the side of my hand and tore all the ligaments up in my hand to the point where the devil was like, yo, my man, I'm going to have to do surgery on your hand. So they gave me this dark blue Velcro strap glove I used to have to wear for years. They told me, put this on every day, put it around your wrist. He's like, listen, do not, whatever you do not use this hand to type or write any more of the teachers of Elijah Muhammad. You're killing yourself. I was like, my life, my death, and sacrifice is all for Allah. Came the person, Master Muhammad, and his first, last, and only messenger, the most humble Elijah Muhammad. I didn't care about self. I cared about the collective self, our people. So my thing was like, all right, I'm definitely not going to stop teaching the messenger teaching. I'm definitely not going to stop giving this raw. So what did I do? I had to switch sides of my brain. So I had to switch from the left side, the math, you know what I mean, and go to the spiritual side, go to the right side of that brain. And I start writing and typing with my left hand, you know what I mean? With both hands, my dexterity was supreme, you know what I mean? I'm talking way over 100 words per minute typing on old-fashioned typewriters. Them old-fashioned typewriters, one of the drawbacks that I see out here in so-called civilization is these laptops, and I'm just sitting here right now, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 up here and 2 downstairs in my office. You know what I mean? So I got 6 laptops to give you some idea of what type of teaching I be doing on a daily basis. You know what I mean? So my thing is I'm trying to make sure that the future don't get spooked out their mind. They absolutely will be spooky in a mug 10, 100, 1,000 years in the future if we don't take and make sure that we keep the messenger's message in this age of mess. Now, I mean, so my life is dedicated to making sure that the raw, original, and divine and direct teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad keeps going forward. In that struggle, as a poor righteous teachers, one of the things that we can do is make sure that we network all the prisoners. I mean, because the devil. See, I want y'all spooky people to understand something. In the belly of the beast, America's county, private, state, federal prison system, modern day slave plantations, they have even the angels of God deceived mentally. And, what their aim is to keep them divided and conquered. Yakub's old law of tricknology, it still works on a lot of sisters, a lot of brothers. You know what I mean? And, you have different camps. So you like, these brothers follow Farrakhan. These brothers follow Salas Muhammad. These brothers follow Minister Jeremiah Shabazz. These brothers follow John Muhammad. These brothers follow Percenters. These brothers Afrocentric. These brothers move. This brother. People that came around me, they like, Alif crushes all that tricknology. He don't play that. I unify the body. You know what I mean? Step 1, phase 1. You know what I mean? Like, listen, it's like the gods against the devils. Now, you with the devil, go stand with the devil. You know what I mean? But if you say you about peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality, yo, we're all under the sun, moon, and stars. Now, I mean, we're not here to convert you. We're here to network with you. Now, I mean, the messenger wanted a black united front. So that's what I've been living for over 40 years as a soldier in the struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. Now, I mean, you do the math. Now, I mean, you figure 40 years, it's 12 months in a year. Let's take the 2 off. Let's just take 10 months. Now, I mean, you'd be like, okay, we doing this 10 months here, 10 months here. You're literally talking thousands of newsletters that we used to publish. Now, I mean, to educate and inform and inspire our people that was mentally dead. We literally raised the dead using nothing but newsletters. So I want you to understand this is an important tool. What's more important is we're now in the age of social media. See, my job used to be expensive and difficult. Under diverse conditions, I have to do this. But nowadays, I could take one of these laptops. Now, I mean, I got the Apples, I got the HPs, I got an Apple over there, you know what I mean? Whatever, you know what I mean? But I had to learn the technology. Keep in mind, I'm a dinosaur, I mean? But I had to learn the game. I'm still learning the game. But I'm the type, like, when I put my mind to something, I master it. You know what I mean? So those that underestimate and doubt the supreme angels will always fail. Always. You know what I mean? It's like Rocky. They be like, oh, you think he's out. You think he's... Nah, I'm going to get up. You know what I mean? And take it to that next level. See what I'm saying? Because I know who I am. I know what our people is working with. So, to combat all this misinformation that's out here regarding voting, especially when it comes to the Most High Elijah Muhammad teachings. And, it's a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstanding, because people say things out of context. They present their beliefs over the facts and the knowledge of the messenger teachings. They tell you things is the teachers of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They don't tell you where the messenger said it and things of that nature there. So I've never been into that. To me, that's always been pseudoscience, tricknology. But I can't read the whole entire thing. And the newsletter covers lessons, how to live, different subjects, theology of time, whatever. I'll save it as a ride. But what I'm going to do is just give you some of the jewels from the newsletter so that you can get the gist of what it is that the messenger taught us regarding voting. All right. The title is Pros and Cons of Voting by Brother Ministeralif. I open up with a quote directly from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I tell you where he said it, and I even give you when he said it. That's what I do. The messenger said, quote, "We must give good black politicians the total backing of our population." By Messenger Elijah Muhammad, Message to the Black Man in America, page 173, 1965. Stop right there. That destroys all of the pseudo teachings that the messenger was apolitical, the messenger didn't vote, the messenger is... It's a lot of nonsense out there, family. All right, let's go into it. So the first thing I do is go into the 6 essential elements: who, what, where, when, how, and why. Let's go into what is voting. In summary, voting is a process by which individuals or nations in the United Nations express their preferences or make decisions on a particular matter or group of matters, usually by casting a ballot in an election. Republicanism is a form of government where the country is considered a, quote, republic, meaning the head of the nation is not a monarch. We're not talking dictators. We're not talking a big I and a little u, as the messenger put it. We're not talking about me, minister, you, private soldier. All these pseudo 10% in a way type teachings. No, all right? It's not a king or queen or dictator. United States of America is supposed to be a federal republic or government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, point number 12 of what the Muslims want and believe, which is the last page inside the newsletter, we give you that point number 12. All right? We give you point number 12 of the Muslim program. The message teaches us, quote, "We believe that Allah God appeared in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, July 1930, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and the Mahdi of the Muslims. We believe further and lastly that Allah is God, and besides him, there is no God. And he will bring about a universal government of peace, wherein we all can live in peace together." Now, it's not a diss to any branch of the Nation of Islam, certainly not a diss to my beloved brothers and sisters who follow the spiritual direction of Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but anybody know me know that I believe in the messenger's original divine and direct teachings. And even though there is some that believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is physically alive, I don't believe that he lives. So as opposed to having he lives, on our newsletter, we specifically explains, we have on there 1897 to 1975. That's our political position and belief on that. Maybe the messenger come back, you know what I mean? So don't take that personal, all right? Let me continue. All right. So I had just talked about the king, queen, or dictator. The United States of America is supposed to be a federal republic or a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. However, human nature naturally produces imperialism, classism, racism, and corporate greed. known as capitalism. The present manifestation in North America is a federal republic with a democratic system of government. In the year 1787, the delegates from states that made lots of money from their black slave population voted on a compromise that resulted in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the United States Constitution that legally defined black slaves as only 3/5 of a human being. In their form of democracy, slaves could not vote. Think that over for a moment. Now, I'm ad-libbing on this. I'm not going to just read. I'm not going to quote the newsletter. I'm just going to freestyle this thing. Know what I mean? But just picture that for a minute. We, as chattel slaves, were considered 3/5 of a human being. There were no black Democrats. There were no black Republicans. There were no black independents. All the pseudoscience and, now I mean, the way this country was structured, it was the Republicans that freed the slaves. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. It was the Democrats that pushed for slavery. It was the Democrats that pushed for killing black people and keeping them under their feet. That don't mean that I'm a Republican. I mean, my thing is you vote your conscience. Now, I mean, now if somebody was to be like, is you going to vote? I'm like, I'm really like, I mean, like, you know, because my choice is going to be the big devil, the medium-sized devil, or the little devil. That's it. You know what I mean? You know, it's you have to move according to your consciousness, not me, not your ministers or captains or secretaries. You go according to what you think is best. Know what I mean? You know, I don't even really usually don't talk politics, personal stuff. But if like my wife, she's what you would consider a Democrat, a registered Democrat. Me, I'm registered as an independent. Know what I mean? You know, I don't trust none of these devils. But if somebody was to ask me my opinion on a matter, looking at the world as it is, what's going on with all these wars, the economy, healthcare, personal issues that I care about, the principles of, and keep in mind, we like 20-something years ago, we started the FJE party, an independent party known as the Freedom, Justice, and Equality Party. In fact, a lot of people's not aware of it. The brothers united in Greatest Ford Penitentiary back in the 90s. The Sunnis, Masjid, Muhammad, the followers of Imam Worthy Muhammad, Allah's Temple of Allah, the Supreme Angels, the 5%, the Moors, the white Jews, the NAACP, the Urban League, the Hispanic community, you name it. Now, I mean, we had the common sense to all come together, and we had, what was his name? I can't even remember all them politicians back. This is like around 93, 94, somewhere around. But we had all the top politicians in the state of Pennsylvania coming in Greatest Ford. Now, I mean, Mark Singletary, Governor Tom Ridge, who became governor. I mean, I don't even want to get into Tom Ridge too much, but, you know, what's understood don't have to be explained. But long story short, we had the Democratic Party sitting at we had a red table. We had these long red Nation of Islam tablecloths. We put on the long tables. He sit down there, the guards were sitting around, you know what I mean? I'm sitting on this end of the table. I mean, I'm the minister at the time. So we basically, you know, laying our plan out like, yo, you know what I mean? This is what we want. And we got a consensus. So we really intentionally hitting him with everything, knowing he can't meet our demands. But that wasn't the plan. The plan was to try to get something out this joker. Now, I mean, long story short, he was thorough. This white boy was thorough, real, highly intelligent, respected. You know what I mean? And he let us know what he could do and what he can't do. But Tom Ridge used that against him. So Tom Ridge went to the paid media and slandered us. It was like, oh, he cutting the Democrats. They cutting deals with the gangsters and black mafia in the penitentiary, and they literally showed the red doors of greatest Ford Penitentiary, and his numbers went straight down the tank. You know what I mean? And Tom Ridge came in, and back then, the black sister Condoleezza Rice was the brains behind the Republican Party in the White House. They took her position, they took her office and invented a brand new office. Because I told Fruit, I was like, dang, when I seen Tom Ridge speak at the Republican Party back, this is like 93, 94, I'm not sure. But when I heard him speak and looked at his, I'm a minister, so I know body language, speaking tempos, all that stuff. When I was like, yo, this dude is good. I mean, and his party understood Bush ain't got nothing on this dude. So what they did to keep him under wraps, because he really should have been president, vice president. What they did, they invented a brand new position called Homeland Security. And humbly speaking, the devils had raided our hut and stole a manual that I wrote. I wrote a lot of stuff. But one of the things I wrote the security directive that we used to use. Basically, it was like based on color codes. I mean, you know, like the people, the nations of the earth, we had like black, brown, yellow, red, and white. So say, for example, it's a time of peace, color code black. I mean, time of war, color code white. You know what I mean? They took that and buried me, but they used it, and Tom Ridge bit it. He plagiarized my stuff, fam. Now, you know, like in hip hop, people be biting your joints. Them devils the same way. So they bit my joint, and he took and used M&Ms and came up with a color code for Homeland Security. Now, I mean, you know, red and yellow. I don't even know all the colors of M&Ms, whatever. Now, I mean, but they built Greene County Supermax, tried to put me in the joint. Now, I mean, contain me. I was in there, but crushed them devils up there. So they kicked me out of the Supermax. The Supermax, like, come on, that corny joint. Now, I mean, so but they took and did that thing politically. And you got to understand, in America, everything is political. So these devils was like literally arguing like, yo, they can't vote in the fort. I mean, they in the belly of the beast pool. That's a security issue. They can't go. But we argue like, yo, Virginia is a Commonwealth. They vote in Virginia. So the devil was like, yo, these niggas is smizzard. I mean, so we won. I mean, we got the vote by ballot joint. So we got all the cases. I'm there. They bringing all these cases of ballots in by the caseload, thousands and thousands. Fort got like, back then I think it was like 6,000 people in there or something. I mean, so we getting all the joints. So we set up on the hallway. I mean, so it was critical we maintain our unity. See, the devil did everything to try to divide the Jews and the Muslims, the nation from the Sunnis, the dark skin from the light skin, this from the, you know what I mean? They used that South Philly, North Philly. We did not allow technology to come between us. We was united. See what I'm saying? That's the reality how we was doing that thing. And we was successful. In my opinion, we had we had family and friends. We was voting as a block. And like Malcolm X was like the ballot or the bullet. So we had a lot of stuff in motion. We even had the legendary Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad coming in, Cam. He was physically coming in the fort to speak during this Jewish Muslim joint in our beachhead. We had a Lost Temple of Islam number 12. He was coming inside the Lost Temple of Islam, but sad to say, some it's the penitentiary. So violence jumped off that had nothing to do with us and nothing. But because of that, they called me down like, yo, Khalid, we got to cancel Dr. Khalid. I'm like, what you mean cancel? We got all kinds, we spent all this money. I mean, they was like, yo, he can't come kick that stuff in We just got all this. If we allow the population to come inside one place and somebody got penciled up, we don't know what's going on right now, it's going to be chaos. You know what I mean? So I understood it. It wasn't nothing slimy on that side. Unfortunately, it was business. Know what I mean? So I had to respect that. So we had to cancel Dr. Khaled joint. Know what I mean? But the good thing was it showed the brothers and sisters in the struggle for peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality that if we remain united and remain determined, we keep that determined idea and don't let the Satan break our ranks and come in with the trick that they're going to come with the COINTELPRO stuff. We like, man, F these devils. You know what I mean? So we kept pushing, we kept it moving. You know what I mean? And what it showed was that we would absolutely make progress. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, in 2024, for example, I see we got a situation where the Biden administration just gave all this money to all these different wars outside. You know what I mean? Like they if you was to take and go back to say 1914 or World War I, and you added up how much money the United States government gave to other countries and just did the math and said, hold up, what if they gave 10% of that money to so-called African Americans for reparations? What if they gave 10% of what they did for the Japanese American internment camps? If they did 10% of what they did for the Native American oppression and imperialism that they put the Native American so-called Indians through in the wilderness of North America. Imagine them doing that for us. Now, I mean, we would be so far ahead in the struggle for peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality. Now, I mean, imagine if the black nation and the nation wasn't divided. Imagine Malcolm X and Dr. Martin King, Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, the Black Panthers, the MOVE members, the Moorish Science Temple followers of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Garvites that follow Marcus Messiah, those that follow Father Law, the whole hip hop community, all the East Coast, the West Coast, the South. Imagine us being united. We would have remade the whole world, family. Easy, we would have remade the world. Know what I mean? But these devils know how to keep us divided and conquered. Know what I mean? So all our heroes and sheroes, they shutting them down systematically. All the people that got money, they slander them, sitting them down. Know what I mean? Making you like, oh, I don't want to mess with them. They destroying our infrastructure while they solidifying their own. I mean, they come together and they doing that thing. Know what I mean? So I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I would consider myself an independent, but not like a traditional, definitive independent. I definitely, absolutely liked Bernie Sanders, but to me, he just was like a little devil. I mean, you know, it's not like I trusted him or distrusted. It was more like, no matter how sincere a politician may be, institutionalized racism is real. So, you know, Malcolm wisely put it, he explained in general that you can't put a chicken in the oven and expect to get a duck out, or put a duck in the oven and expect the chicken to come out. No matter what you do with that system, you're putting in something that is simply not of its nature, meaning that we're simply in a situation where the United States was stolen. They took it through force, imperialism, colonialism, rape, robbery, murders, slavery. They had cannons, they had guns and gunpowder, they had alcohol and diseases and technology. And this is how they got the Native Americans, they got the Africans that was already here, brought Africans here. Now, I mean, you know, it's just a whole mixture of things that took place. And at the same time, it wouldn't be factual or fair to make it like it's just a white and black problem, because you always had white Europeans that was like spiritual. Like they was like, I'm not with the chaos. I ain't trying to kill nobody or take somebody's land, but they caught up in the system. So you had your abolitionists and you had your slave masters. Now, I mean, and they bumped heads amongst themselves. You had your John Browns that sacrificed, that gave his life trying to at least help the so-called slaves. Now, I mean, you had black slaves that were snitching on Denmark Vesey and Nat Turner that sided with the white slave masters and sold their people down the river. You had spies against the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that worked with COINTELPRO. They was getting envelopes of money, cash. Now, I mean, just to slander the messenger in the devil's media and try to stop his progress. All that's in the struggle. So you have to understand how this thing really goes. All right, so let me read some more of this newsletter. All right. So, in their form of democracy, slaves could not vote, even though they claimed that all human beings were created equal. So the last messenger wisely did not put his hopes or focus on the devil's politics. Yet, he often used the U.S. constitutional rights to demand freedom, justice, and equality from corrupt politicians and governments. I want to quote for you something from Messenger Elijah Muhammad from Message to the Black Man in America on page number 218. It was published in 1965. The messenger himself said this, not Ali, the messenger teachings. Those of you that say, I follow the messenger, this is the messenger teachings. He said, quote, certainly there is power in voting if there is justice. Certainly there is power in voting if there is justice for the so-called Negroes. But the crooked political machine of America can always keep the once slaves free slaves. So the messenger goes on. I like to quote him again. This is from Message to the Black Man in America on page number 218, same year, 1965. It's in the newsletter. You know, make sure y'all subscribe to this newsletter. All right. He said, quote, we are a nation in a nation. Why not use these 22 million people's power for their eternal salvation of temporary enjoyment with the same wicked people who murder our people? Quote, let us build our own political machine. Very important. The messenger was like, let us build our own political machine. In 1993, we established our own political machine called the FJE Party, the Freedom, Justice, Equality Party. In the same book, 1965, Message to the Black Man, he wrote a chapter titled, Put the Muslim Program Before Congress. In 1993, we met with our inspector and senator, I think it was Wolf, whatever, but we legally, officially, technically put the Nation Islam program before Congress. We even put it, and this when President William Bill Clinton was president at the time. Somebody that I didn't vote for, somebody that you know what I mean? But we put the messenger program before him and actually got a letter from his office where he explained to us basically, he's like, listen, you know what I mean? We appreciate everything y'all said, but we gave him some arguments. And the only thing was in 93, he was like, we put them in the Muslim program. I don't want to digress too much, but this is one of the things we gave these jokers too. We went at them on, let me see real quick, because a lot of FOIs and MGT don't understand the messenger's mythology. Let me see. Okay. Here we go here. point number 8 of what the Muslims want and believe, the messenger program. We argued before Congress, before President Clinton, and I did this book back then called Why We, I'm paraphrasing, I wrote so much stuff, I don't even remember the exact name. This was like, what was that, 90, 2000, that's like 30 years ago or something. But I believe the book is called Why the UN now rejected NGO status, something of that nature. Back then they had a black man that ran the UN, the United Nations, Kofi Annan. And I'm in touch with him, and we building, I'm writing him and he writing me. And he basically was like, look, bro, this is what I'm gonna do for you. I'm gonna give y'all NGO status, which is considered non-governing organization status. He said, I'm gonna give y'all NGO status. That way you can go ahead and get some millions, get some money, you know what I mean? Y'all could go ahead and do your thing worldwide. Y'all can network with Africa, whatever. So I'm like, okay, this sounds good. Now, I send me terms and conditions. He sends me the stick joint. Now, so it's like the charter, the Constitution of the UN. So I'm an analytical thinker. I'm not your typical analyst. I'm analyzing this stuff. So I'm like, as I'm reading, I'm like, highlighting certain stuff, like, oh, I got a serious problem with this. Oh, hell to the no on this part. They tripping over here. So it was things in there that I don't want to get into in this because we're focusing on the newsletter. But in the book, I did cover all that stuff. But my main issue was when you study the UN, the United Nations, back then there was like 190 something nations members. They only had 9 what they call permanent members. So of course, United States, like Britain, China, Japan was in there. So I'm looking at what they saying, and I'm like, yo, the way this is some mafia, Lucky Luciano, boss of all bosses bullcrap. Like, this is the UN? I'm like, I see why these jokers can't get nothing done. Basically, non-rich countries, I call them 10%, rich slave makers of the poor. The 10% pay their bills, all right? So because America and Russia and Britain and Japan and all of them, from them paying all of the majority of the bills, they acting like it's a democracy. That crap ain't no democracy. The way they got it is like this. Say, for example, you got a conflict. Like right now, people don't realize it's a war. It's a civil war in the Sudan. You know what I mean? Violent amongst blacks, they getting guns, but it's 2 major oil reservoirs, so it's all about the money. It's always about the paper. You know what I mean? So you got these 10% rich Europeans in the background manipulating the situation, causing black on black violence. It's been going on for 6,000 years. All right, so say the UN wanted to come in and like, let's cool this out. Let's stop the war between Israel and the Palestinians, Hamas, whatever. Let's stop Russia and Ukraine. If 185 nations said no, and 1 nation that's considered a permanent member said yes, the answer is yes. So if 185 countries said we voting for peace, and China said, nah, we want war, the answer is war. If 190 nations said, we want peace, and President Biden said, America wants war, the answer is war. If 186 nations say, we want to stop the conflict, and Russia said, no, we want to keep the conflict, the answer is keep the conflict, because they're paying the bills. So when I'm writing Kofi Annan, like, yo, what is you talking about? This is a democracy? Like, why? That vote has no power. He's like, well, you gotta understand, they not permanent members. I'm like, listen, my man, Listen, the Supreme Angels, the Universal Nation of Islam, we don't want no parts of this. All the millions of dollars, all that fame, and nah, homie, we good. You know what I mean? We gonna stay poor righteous teachers. You tripping? We 5%. We do not believe in the teachers of the 10%. You know what I mean? So they like come back at me like, yo, won't you reconsider? We'll do it. Like, we could do this. It's nothing you can say after that. Like, nah. You know what I mean, we can't break bread. We can't do no unity, none of that. Now I mean, like y'all in the way. Y'all on the side of Satan. Y'all going down with the rest of the 10%. So that's what really happened behind the scenes. But President Bill Clinton, to his credit, somebody I didn't like, but I respected. You know what I mean? I'd be like, he was the black president, like he's a devil. You know what I mean? In fact, on the front cover of the newsletter back then, those of you that had, copies of it, I got a copy somewhere down in the office, whatever. It was called, I put a picture of Bill Clinton. I forgot the Republican guy name. I know how he looked, tall, thin, white guy. I think it was Dole or something. I forgot his, I can't even think of his name right now. But I put on the cover, if you go with the Democrats, it's satanic worship. So I wrote a whole essay on that inside the newsletter called Satanic Worship. Like, black people tripping, think this dude is their savior. But to his credit, I give credit where credit is due. I don't care if you're black or white, whatever. I give credit where credit. To his credit, Bill Clinton did balance the budget back then with some, political technology, but what he did do, he offered and kept it real on the Nation of Islam tip. When we put the Muslim program before Congress and we came directly at him at some Supreme Angel stuff, and he looked at it and they basically was like, look, we argued what we argue is point number 8 of what the Muslims want and believe. Point number 8, the messenger wanted this. He said, I'm quoting him. He said, we want the government of the United States to exempt our people from all taxation as long as we are deprived of equal justice under the laws of the land. So, to his credit, he came with some gangster stuff. Bill Smart, he's a shrewd politician, but he basically was like, look, it's like, bro, ministeralif, listen, we'll give y'all point number 8 because the Nation of Islam is the Nation of Islam. Y'all supposed to have 501c3 IRS recognition, non-stock, non-profit status. Y'all supposed to be completely exempt from tax. If y'all want to get land, helicopters, hospitals, farms, schools, housing, healthcare, whatever, y'all go do y'all thing. That's not illegal in America. Y'all don't need us for none of that. You know what I mean? And he was right. He basically was like, y'all already had that status. Down Elijah Muhammad did that back in the 1950s. I'm going to say it again. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad made the Nation of Islam a IRS-recognized nonprofit in the 1950s. All right? But he always maintained that we're not a gang, we're not a sect, we're not a club, we're not an organization. We're a nation in the nation, politically. But legally, he understood where he was at. He understood the First Amendment, the separation of powers. Now, I mean, Congress should not recognize any religion. Now, I mean, so it was like a separation of church and state. So the messenger understood that brothers selling Muhammad Speaks newspapers on the street corner can be arrested for soliciting. They don't have a permit to do that. So using the First Amendment, the messenger modified his mathematics. So when you look at the original Muhammad Speaks and then look at the later Muhammad Speaks, he changed it. He's like, okay, it's not 25 cents. We ain't selling nothing. Donation, 25 cents. Wise messenger. Now, I mean, when he tried to make Hajj, the COINTELPRO, the J. Edgar Hoover and them, the counterintelligence program, they was like, do not let Elijah Muhammad get on an airplane. Stop him from getting his passport. We can't let this man go over seized and be recognized as a legitimate Muslim organization. They wanted to divide the nation from the Orthodox Muslims and keep the nation in a box to contain and control us. You know what I mean? And the messenger couldn't understand at the time, like, yo, what's going on? Sin, like, is this a conspiracy? What's happening? And it got so bad that he told his lawyer, listen, man, I'm tired of waiting. We're going to sue these jokers. And once the COINTELPRO people heard, oh, Elijah Gray sue us, they was like, yo, they backed up. They acquiesced a little bit. Not all the way, but just they was like, yo, we can't. Because if he sued, they filed for discovery. It's going to come out that the whole time we was like sabotaging his movement. So what they did, they let him go ahead and get his traveling papers. And praise be to Allah, came the person, Master Muhammad, the supreme Allah in person, to whom all praises due forever. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was able to go over to Africa and Asia and, you know, do the minor pilgrimage and things of that nature there. Not on some spooky Sunni stuff. He was like, man, I'm not coming over here worshiping no mystery gods, none of that. He said, when I kissed the black stone, I smiled because I knew I was kissing myself. He knew who he was. He knew where he was at. You know what I mean? You know, but he understood the politics of the moment. Now, I mean, he's on a camel wearing the traditional stuff at the Great Pyramid of Giza and all that kind of stuff. Smart man. You know what I mean? So the devil tried to sabotage him. It didn't work. It did hinder him because that's all in the struggle. So let me quote the messenger. This is Message of the Black Man, as I said, page 218. I'm going to quote it again. We are a nation in a nation. Why not use these 22 million people's power for their eternal salvation instead of temporary enjoyment with the same wicked people who murder our people? Let us build our own political machine. I don't care what branch of Nation Islam you're in. Where is your political machine? Why don't the nation have its own political independent party? By Messenger Elijah Muhammad, Message to the Black Man in America, page number 218, published in 1965. Decades ago, the Supreme Angels of Allah in person sparked the FJE, Freedom, Justice, and Equality Party, that supports any politician, regardless of party, that best seeks to help the people. We help educate the voters and non-voters on the facts, figures, and future of the struggle. Many voters are forced to choose between a big devil, medium devil, or little devil. The messenger said in The Fall of America on page number 36, published in 1973, quote, the black vote could be cast or not cast. The white citizens of the government are going to win and continue to rule anyway. There is much talk of this man and that man. Who shall the vote of the people put in the White House for the next 4 years? How much good have the two parties, Republican and Democrat, done for us for the last century in the way of freedom, justice, and equality? Regardless of what party wins, the die is always set against us, the black people in America. Injustice, crooked politics, and the breeding of corruption under crooked politicians have been practiced ever since Adam to the present day rulers. Adam was the first crook. By Messenger Elijah Muhammad, The Fall of America, page 36, 1973. Students of political science will realize that sometimes blacks were helped by Republicans and hindered by Democrats. And sometimes blacks were helped by Democrats and hindered by Republicans. There were white politicians that tried to help us and black politicians that tried to hinder us. This is why you must first vote for yourself. You must govern your own mind, body, and home. Then you must educate yourself on the pros and cons of your present circumstances and vote or not vote in accord with your best interests, the good, bad, or indifference that you experience will be the effects based on your own causes. Now, if somebody was to ask me flat out, "Oh, I'll leave, who you voting for in 2024?" Now, I mean, me personally, I was so pissed when I seen President Biden talking about America stand with Israel when they just sparked that little conflict over there. I was like, yo, you don't even know what's going on. You don't even know what's happening already. You talking about America is taking a side. Like, yo, bad politics. So I really wasn't feeling Biden with that, President Biden with all that crap. But understanding the time and looking at everything, if you will, looking at the pros and cons, looking at the Republicans, the Democrats, the Independent Party, looking at Dr. Cornel West and all that, who I personally was able to meet up with. Now, I mean, I actually did personal security for him when he came to Philadelphia back in the day and things of that nature there. Now, I mean, it was like, it's like America is so wealthy and corrupt, and imperialism is everywhere, and politics and corporations and lobbying and all this other behind the scenes trick. Now it's just a massive confusion. You have to take and do what your conscience dictates. So I'm like, I really honestly wasn't even going to vote at all this year. But after weighing the pros and cons of everything, me personally, this is not for you. You can vote for Trump. You can vote for Biden. You may not vote at all. You may vote for an independent party, whatever the case may be. But when I analyze, deputize, and scrutinize the political science, I personally reached the conclusion that I really reluctantly doing it, but I'm going to go ahead and vote Democrat this year. I really don't like this democracy or this devil government, but I understand. I'm a homeowner. I mean, it's like, I got to take care of my family. I got things to do. I got situated. We're in a situation where you got a war in the Sudan and Africa. You got a civil war in Sudan. You got a war between Israel, Iran, and the terrorists, as they call it. I mean, so-called Palestinians. You got Russia crap going on. You got all these corporations. You got AI, or artificial intelligence, and ChatGPT trying to set that thing up so that they could take power from the people. It's just so much going on in the world today that I'm like, I don't like Biden, but I really definitely don't like Trump. It's things Republicans say and do that I absolutely love to death. I agree with, but it's like overall, they got so much dangerous rhetoric as a black man, a so-called African American. Like, it's literally like, yo, these jokers is literally, when they finish, they literally be talking lynching, slavery, tyranny. I mean, real live Civil War, chaotic. Like, I've seen, people don't understand. I read political and all the, follow the pros and cons of what both sides. I go in that West, analyze their positions on. They got some dangerous stuff. Now, so I'm like, I look at Democrats like they punks. Like Biden and them was too damn soft. Obama was too darn soft. So it's a lot of stuff. I never was a Democrat in my life. I never was a Republican in my life. Now, my thing is, either I'm not voting, or if I do vote, I'm going to vote my conscience. That's my thing. The messenger taught me, he's like, if you vote, vote using wisdom. So the first thing I always do is vote for myself. I vote for a law. I don't believe in a mystery God. But at the same time, it's like if I don't vote, it really hurts the Democrats and helps Trump and the Republicans. So it's like a chaotic world that we living in right now. So my thing is, whatever you think is best, fam. If you feel as though you should vote Republican, vote Republican. If you think you should vote Democrat, vote Democrat. If you feel as though you should vote independent, vote independent. If you think you should vote for yourself, vote for yourself. If you think you shouldn't vote at all, don't vote at all. Know what I mean? But my thing is, make a conscious decision. Don't let somebody else decide for you. You see what I'm saying? Just listen to the pros and cons. In this situation, I just want you to know the messenger's message in this age of mess. I want, I want you to hear what word for word the Honorable Elijah Muhammad thought. What did he personally do? The messenger personally thing was like, certain stuff that, as I've quoted already, I'm going to quote some more. And you take and reach your own conclusions. Don't listen to your ministers, your captains, your secretaries, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the independent parties, whatever, the corporations, the commercials, or whatever. Take and weigh the pros and cons of all that stuff. Separate the good from the bad. Separate the pretenders from the defenders. And reach a consensus within your own heart and vote your conscience. Whether I agree with it or disagree with it makes no difference. It's none of my business. It's your business, family. You see what I'm saying? Don't worry about what other people think about you. Do you. You make it happen. All right? Let's go. I'm going to give you another quote from the newsletter. This one right here is President Obama back in the day in his office. But this right here is a quote from Message to the Black Man in America, pages 207 to 208, published in 1965. All right. This quote, if I even get in this, let me put this in context, because some of our critics, they try to always slander the messenger, you know what I mean? But one of the salvos that they launch against the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad basically is that the messenger taught that a black man would never be president of the United States, and President Kennedy predicted that a president would be president, a black man would be president in 40 years. Now Elijah Muhammad said it never happened, but 40 years later, just as President Kennedy said, the Democrats, President Barack Obama became president, which proves Elijah Muhammad was a false prophet and all this other mumble jumble. Now, first of all, understand this. Elijah Muhammad was not a prophet. He taught prophecy, but his thing was he's here to deliver the message of Allah who came to person Master Muhammad, to my praises due forever. Now, and in his teachings, he would say things like, and I'll say it's around 90s, he said, your guess is as good as mine. So, he said in his first book, 1957, Supreme Wisdom, he said, this is why I write what I write, hoping that perhaps you'll be able to break the old prophet's prediction. So he gave us valuable jewels that we're not blind followers of Elijah Muhammad or his teachings. We have to interpret this stuff. We have to utilize it. That's our responsibility. But to our critics, you're taking the messenger's message out of context. So we're going to put it in context for you. In the newsletter, I intentionally do this. What I do is I lay out for you, first of all, the part y'all leave out. So I'm going to read to you word for word what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad actually said in 1965. This is the full context. And those of you that had a book, Message to the Black Man in America, just turn to page 207 to 208, published in 1965. If you don't have Message to the Black Man, I believe you can see it on YouTube as a PDF or something, or audio book, or you could order the book on Amazon, whatever. Or you can order it through us. You just go on our website at noireport.com. We have Message to the Black Man for America, I'll Say It's Right, How to Live, Book 1 and 2, The Flag, all the Messenger books on there, all right? So, the Messenger said, quote, none dispute concerning the message of Allah but those who disbelieve. So let not that control in the land deceive them. Holy Quran, chapter 40, verse 4. The fact that you can vote does not mean that the white man will allow you to put men in Washington of your kind who would love to give you justice, nor does it mean that you will be voted in as president of the country. You can never hope to attain this. If you think, because Kennedy said in 40 years a Negro man will become president of the country, he will become just that, then you misunderstood. Never will a black man be able to rule a white man in America. He was only referring, this is the important part, right? This is the part they leave out to put it in context. He was only referring to the so-called American Negro's unity with his brothers. This will make him strong enough to put a president in office, but not over white people. By Messenger Elijah Muhammad, Message to the Black Man in America, pages 207 to 208, 1965. Okay, so let's look at this for a moment. Here we see the message like he's specifically explaining that, yeah, after 40 years, Kennedy's correct. Blacks can put a black man in the White House as president. And this is the exact words that I just read. He said he was only referring to the so-called American Negro's unity with his brothers. Quote, this will make him strong enough to put a president in office. One more time. This will make him strong enough to put a president in office. So the messenger wasn't saying a black man couldn't become president of America. He said this will make him strong enough to put a president in office. He gave a qualifier. It's conditional. He said, but not over white people. Meaning what? Yeah, we can get Obama in there. But look at Obama's works. He wasn't breaking black people off. Obama ain't talking about no reparations. You crazy? President Obama, love him to death, flyest president of America the world ever seen. Beautiful wife, beautiful family. He was hip, cool, thorough. You know what I mean? I read his books, Letters to My Father, whatever. Obama, he said in his book when he was a young boy, how he was sitting on the stoop of his house and he was reading the final call. Did y'all catch that? President Obama was sitting on his porch reading the final call newspaper from the Nation of Islam. And he said he seen his white neighbor walking the dog, and the dog pooped in front of the house. And instead of picking the poop up, like where we live at, we have what they call housing authority, you know, stuff like that there. So if somebody walked that dog in my backyard, for example, whatever, they got little bags. They got to have poop scoops. They got the poop scoop or that take the plastic bag, pick up the poop of the dog, you know what I mean, keep it moving. They don't leave the poop on the joint. Then you go out in the yard, barefoot, walking around or whatever. You step in some dog mess or whatever. But Obama considered the person that did that a devil. So here you got a black man who's not president talking about devils reading the final call newspaper. I'm not saying he's official father of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, nothing like that. But he was reading the final call. It's like, did he have a subscription? Did a brother just sell him one paper? I do not know. But he did meet with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Farrakhan understood how the devil used him against President Forerunner, Jesse Jackson, and he didn't want to see that Milton Coleman affair, crazy stuff. I lived through all that stuff back in the 80s and all that. But, he wanted to protect his brother. So he fell back and like, yo, go do your thing, know what I mean? And Obama got in, know what I mean? But the messenger and Message of the Black Man in America on page 200, 208, 207, 208 in 1965 is basically explaining like, yeah, President Kennedy had the foresight to like, yo, about 40 years from now, we're going to get a black man in the White House. Now, I mean, like back then, 2 generations, whatever. And Obama was that dude. Now, I mean, respect that. But Obama was not really elected. I mean, he was more like appointed. Like it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff like Nancy Pelosi and all of them. At the time, they sitting around the Oval Table. President Bush is sitting here and the banks is collapsing. The Republican Party didn't know what to do. They had no idea what to do. And they publicly told the president, yo, we don't know what to do. And what really happened, they asked the Democrats. And it came to the young Senator Obama. He's street dude. He's in Chicago, He brought the hustle to the muscle. So Obama told him basically, he said, I just lied. President Obama was like, he wasn't president at the time, but he was like, when they asked me, did I have a plan? He said, I didn't have no plan. He said, but I just made one up right there. That's the science of a good leader right there. I remember watching Star Trek, and Spock and Captain Kirk had a little intellectual debate, and Spock couldn't understand. It's like, I don't understand something. I'm the intelligent one. I got all the data, the information. I'm analytical in my thinking. He's like, why are you the captain of the ship? Like, why is you in charge of the Star Trek Enterprise instead of me when I'm a trillion times smarter than you? Know what I mean? And Captain Curtis explained to him, did you take the test? He's like, yeah. He's like, but as an analyst, no one can pass the test. And Captain Curtis explained to him, I passed the test. It's like, you passed it? How did you pass the test? Captain Kirk was like, it was easy. I cheated. Captain Kirk thought outside the box. He wasn't spooky. And they was like, oh, he needs to be in charge of the universe. I mean, and a lot of our people are spooky. They look at it like, oh, I'm black, they're white, I'm God, they're devils, I'm rich, they're poor, I'm educated. And it's like, no, family, that is not how the universe works. That is not how anything in this universe operates. In this reality, you have protons and electrons, positive forces and negative forces. They're not two separate forces, family. They're the exact same force. They're different vibrations or different dimensions of the whole. There's protons, positive forces, 5%, poor righteous teachers. There's neutrons or neutral forces with these protons intermingled. They're known as the 85%, the neutral forces. And outside, there's an electron cloud, the 10%, the rich, the slave makers of the poor, the evil ones, the negative force. But it's all one atom, family. So depending on how you're vibrating, you can manifest good, neutrality, or negatively. You could come with your right hand, no hand, or your left hand. Depends on you, fam. I mean, so here, the messenger said, and I quote him as I move on, this will make him strong enough to put a president in office, but not over white people. Now I'm going to take y'all into some history to show y'all the messenger was right and exact, that the messenger's message is all wise, right and exact. And this is why I always tell you, only the messenger's message can guide us through this age of mess. Now, here, The newsletter goes on. Messenger Elijah Muhammad's political insight was right and exact. Some 40 years later, the so-called African Americans or blacks united under the Democratic Party, and they gained enough votes and electoral delegates to put the first black president in the White House, President Obama. However, if you study what really happened, the banks were collapsing. The car industry was going bankrupt. Obama was selected, not elected, by the 10% rich slave makers of the poor to help keep America from falling. Nancy Pelosi had Obama go outside and hold the press conference. He just got finished lying to President Bush. President Bush wanted to know, like, yo, the banks fall, what should we do? The Republicans like, I don't know. Obama's like, oh, I know what we're supposed to do. So the president like, okay, Obama, what should we do? And they came up, he said he literally just made, this is not me. This is him himself explaining, like, he literally just made it up right there. And he's like, was not giving facts, none of that. He just knew, like, something has to be done. We got a situation that demands results. I mean, and he's like, something's better than nothing. That's the basic position he took. Showed effective leadership. I mean, and it worked. And he held a press conference and said some mumble jumble stuff with no facts or figures, no plan of action, none of that. And the world focused on Obama, and the corporate elites and the rich, they was like, yo, let that black dude become the president. And they did moves and they got him in office. And when he got in office, me and my wife, I remember, I never forget it, we traveled to Philadelphia, and I was out Chester County at the time. We went all the way to Philadelphia. It was a huge crowd. I mean, it's like Homeland Security everywhere. We had to go through all these checkpoints and tables, and you know what I mean? But we finally got in to see President Obama, his wife. We saw Hillary Clinton spoke and stuff like that there. And it was real interesting because we're in Philly downtown, and they had on the skyscraper like all these digital billboards going around the building. And I told Mom, I was like, yo, check this joint out right here. For some reason, they showed like a mass of people. They was like rebelling or something. Like, it was going around. I didn't understand. It was like a mass of people was rebelling, and they had Hillary Clinton, and it was like Donald Trump taking over. And it really is like, I was like, yo, that's some deep stuff. At the time I was basically like, look, these devils sending subliminal messages like Trump is going to have the masses overcome Hillary Clinton or something, I mean? And Hillary won the majority of the vote. But these jokers came in talking this electoral college mumble jumbo, even though she got the popular vote. They put Trump in office. I'm like, oh, they cheat. Like, you talking about some gangster double dealing. It was like, these devils never cease to amaze me. I mean, but so let me go on. So Obama was selected, not elected, by the 10% rich slave makers of the poor to help keep America from falling. He was president, but the descendants of the former slave owners challenged his legitimacy as president. Many argue he was not even an American. You all remember the birther issues, birth certificate, whatever. Others wondered if he was a secret Muslim. According to the December the 4th, 2016, it's 2024 today, fam. It's April 2024. Back in April of 2016, Political.com, the political newsletter, report titled, this was the title of it, The Victory of No. So remember, 1965, President Kennedy, in Message of the Black Man, the message explained that President Kennedy predicted that a black man would be president 40 years in the future. The Messenger in 1965 explained 40 years in the future, blacks may organize and be politically strong enough to get a black man to become president of the United States. But don't be fooled by that nonsense. Don't think that just because a black man is president, that he's going to have some juice, that he's going to be over white folks. Not happening. You know what I mean? He may be a symbolic president, but he's not going to have the substance or the strength. So the Republicans did what? Everything that Obama said, thou shalt do, the Republicans said, thou shalt not do. Let us go on. Now, this is the April 2016 political report. Quote, the victory, this is the title, The Victory of No, is done by a reporter named Michael Grunwald. He pointed to the fact that the House GOP met 24 hours later after President Obama took office for the sole purpose of uniting to reject anything. Not some stuff, family. These jokers got together. The 10% rich got together and said, listen, we don't care if Obama president. If anything he present, anything he wants, we're going to oppose him on it. Literally, they didn't care if it was good for the country or not. I mean, all right. So hours after President Obama took office for the sole purpose of uniting to reject anything he tries to do as president of the United States of America, they agreed on the methodology of, quote, I'm quoting them. This ain't for me. This is what Politico said in 2016. Remaining, this is talking about the Republican rich white folks that did this, remaining unified and fighting him on everything. Indiana conservatives named Mike Pence, he wasn't vice president, none of that. This is back in the day. Show you how they think ahead of time. Mike Pence said, quote, we're going to kick the hell out of him all the time. We're going to go through him like crap through a goose. Now, those of you that are scientists in history that study his story and our story and their story and every story, know that when Mike Pence, a super ultra Christian conservative, said this, let me quote what he said again. Mike Pence said at the time, we're going to kick the hell out of him, talking about President Obama. We're going to kick the hell out of him all the time. We're going to go through him like crap through a goose. Hear me out. A lot of people don't realize that's really a quote from the neo-Nazi Adolf Hitler movement. Here you got a Christian Pence using German rhetoric to destabilize and dismantle a black man as president of the United States of America back in 2016. A lot of people don't understand that politically, all right? The article explained their ultimate aim was, quote, treating him, talking about President Obama, quote, treating him not just as a president from the opposing party, but an extreme threat to the American way of life, which has been a remarkable political success. It helped Republicans take back the House in the year 2010. They took back the Senate in 2014, and they took back the White House in 2016. This no cooperation, no apologies approach is also on the verge of delivering a conservative majority on the Supreme Court. Obstructionism worked. Now, you may wonder, what does all this political mumbo-jumbo have to do with me or us? Yesterday, I had to go to Walmart, So me and my wife, we in the car, we go to Walmart. When we get to Walmart, the Trump supporters was out there with a giant bus. It had the abortion stuff on the front, at least I would say, no exaggeration, about 50 different photographs of Donald Trump all over it. Make America great. The guns, the flags, the Confederate flags, all that. You know what I mean? So as a black man, just going to Walmart, I'm like, yo, these moles, like, what? They literally like look like they ready to really like get it on in America. Like they ready to set it off for real, for real. I mean, all that storm the Capitol stuff, you got people that still have that mentality. So that was that. Then I came home, I turned on the news, and when I turned the TV on, I was like, let me see what's going on with this live Trump stuff. You know what I mean? They interrupted the joint because they explained, no, first, the night before, I saw President Trump come out his hearing holding all this paperwork. And I'm saying to myself, like, why is he carrying paper? Like, nah, your lawyers be like, you can't, somebody could take a picture of that stuff. You don't come out with no paperwork. It's a publicity stunt, you know what I mean? But he was like, basically, they had me in court all morning into the night and all this other stuff. But yesterday, this guy, a Trump supporter, came in front of the courthouse and doused himself with some flammable liquid. I don't know if it was gasoline, kerosene, whatever. And he put himself on fire and killed himself. I'm like, you see that? But like monks in other countries and stuff like that, they doing that now in the United States. And my wife's like, he put himself on fire. I was like, that's a serious problem to me as a black man. Because they trying to disrupt that trial, whatever. But the problem is, if you have fanaticals that will pour gasoline on that self and put that self on fire, what do you think they would do to you and me? If this dude lose or whatever, they don't get that way. It's like, the rhetoric is like so. I seen like a advertisement on my phone. I couldn't stop watching. I'm like, what whoever this old white guy was, he was cracked. Like he literally was like the Republican commercial. I think it was like 2 minutes long or something. This joint was crack. I mean, like the propaganda make Hitler proud. I mean, I was like, yo, that was some strong. He was so poised and eloquent in his delivery. I'm like, yeah, I mean, he just breaking this stuff down about America. I'm like, yo. But at the same time, like, yo, it's like the poison Kool-Aid. I mean, but it's like, yo, that's some tasty stuff he spit. I know a lot of people gonna drink that crap. He talking crap. But people really believe that stuff. Like, this dude is a threat to international security in reality, if you understand the politics of the time in which we live. I mean, so obstructionism worked for the Republicans. So ever since then, they've been on Obama's top. And now that Obama's right hand, President Biden, who to me is like one of the problems that's taking place in this world is like, you got all these old men that don't want to get out of the way. Let the young boys come in and bring something new. Let the young girls come in and bring something. You know what I mean? So it's like looking at it from both sides and from an independent position and from a conscious position. I personally really be like, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Like, I wouldn't vote for none of these devils. But as a supreme angel, as a soldier in the struggle, understanding everything on this planet is political. I don't know if you understand that. Everything is politics. Everything in your life is politics. Your electric bill, your gas, you getting a haircut, you having a car, you having a job, you starting a business, you driving down the street, you walking down the street, you can't walk, you can run, you going to a hospital, you not being able to go to the hospital. Everything is politics in the world in which we live. So that's just the reality of the world. So it's like I'm not one to shun from reality. So it's like, okay, how can I make the best out of a bad situation? Know what I mean? And it's like personally, I'm like, I really don't like the Democrats. They too soft for me. They too wishy-washy. They full of crap. They don't fulfill their promises. They only come to the hood when they need your vote and things. All that's absolutely true. But at the same time, I understand like, yo, when we talking about the borders, when we talking about fentanyl killing black people, when we talking about wars and rumors of wars and diseases, and when we talking about politics, it's like you put this fool, President Trump, in office again, I'm on the tip. Yo, this dude, when it come to that money, when it come to imperialism, now keep in mind, I don't think Trump is racist, but don't get me confused. Like, I know President Trump as like the hip hop boy, the Mike Tyson fights, the Holyfield fights, you know what I mean? Trump Towers, him hanging out in the clubs with black people and all that kind of stuff like that there. I know he do whatever is financially in his best interest, politically in his best interest. Know what I mean? You know, he's a front artist, know what I mean? You know, like he put the young boys in jail, put out a 4-page ad in the New York newspaper, get innocent young boys in jail for crime they wasn't guilty of. You know, so I'm not no follower or supporter of Trump by any. You'll never ever see me wearing no Trump hats, make America great again. I'm like, when was America great? As a black man, like, yo, please. Know what I mean? But at the same time, I know Biden didn't want his white children on the bus with no black kids, especially from North Philly. You know what I mean? It's like when he in Pennsylvania, you know, it's like I know Hillary Clinton and her husband passed the worst prison laws I ever seen in my life. On a 1 year time bar. I know so many FOIs and MGTs stuck in the belly of the beast because they can't even file an appeal because of the Post-Conviction Relief Act 1 year time. Mumia Abu-Jamal, I mean, it's so I'm like, I'm not with none of these politicians. So don't get me twisted. But at the same time, in understanding warfare, and when I say understanding warfare, I'm military minded. I mean, I smile a lot. That's military tactics. Now I mean, but the message teaches us in the field journals, man, you what? 1 is a single, 2 is a pair. A pair and a single makes what? 3, which is a trio. A trio and a pair equals what? 5, which is a squad. 2 squads make 10, which is a section. 5 sections equals 50, which is a platoon. 2 platoons equals 100, which is... I could go militarily on you all day long. Drills, whatever. You know what I mean? But so understanding stratagem and tact and diplomacy, I have to take and analyze it, and I'm looking at it, the whole picture from a global perspective. I'm like, I really like, it's like, dang, you know what I mean? Like, I really like, it's like somebody saying, okay, you gotta eat. Do you want to eat these chitlins, or do you want to eat this McDonald's Happy Meal, or do you want to eat nothing? I mean, and I'm like, I really don't. Like, I know this got a lot of artificial ingredients and chemicals and preservatives and steroids and all kind of crap that they put inside. I know this is genetically modified French fries, whatever. But something's better than nothing. That's just human nature. So I look at President Biden and the Democratic Party in 2024 as like, I really don't mess with McDonald's, but I wouldn't watch my children starve to death either. And I definitely wouldn't want them having to eat the chitlins. I mean, so it's like, y'all go ahead and eat this little Happy Meal and drink this high fructose corn syrup, Sprite soda. But I was like, if it was up to me, I would never give y'all this crap. You know what I mean? But under these circumstances, the first law of nature is self-preservation. So for the benefit of our women and our elders and our children and our brothers in the struggle worldwide, I gotta go ahead and bite the bullet and go ahead and ride with the Democratic Party in 2024. The newsletter ends like this. It is axiomatic or self-evident that just because you cast your ballot or vote, if 100 voters voted and 70 voted for a particular candidate, he or she may have received what they would consider, quote, the popular vote. But a small group of unknown people, relatively speaking, from what is vaguely known as the Electoral College, can overvote the people's vote and put whom they want in office. Such political technology is not new, nor unique to American politics. Messenger Elijah Muhammad did not vote officers into positions of the Nation of Islam. His teachings are, quote, should officers be elected or appointed? Answer, they should be appointed. Yet the FOI and or MGT are politically protected by the lessons that teach us to be obedient to the laws of Islam and those in authority. Meaning the laws come before any officer, any minister, captain, or secretary in the Nation of Islam. And we only obey authority that is in harmony with the restricted laws of Islam. And the last message explained in the Field Journal's manual that if a believer is ordered to disbelieve in a law and his messenger, we must disobey that authority. Each individual must use good judgment and discretion in Islam. 24 Principles of Islam. The messenger did not make us vote, nor did he make it a sin to vote. He explained, quote, if you cast your vote, cast it wisely. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, God. Peace, Goddess. I'm your brother in the struggle, Brother Minister Alif Allah. If you would like to order the complete newsletter, you can send $3 to HHW, P.O. Box 1143, Exton, PA 19341. We should get this on the official website at noireport.com within the next few hours, inshallah, Sakeem. Or you could just order it by Cash App to Null Institute Inc. That's NALINISTITUTEINC. What's that problem spelling institute? That's a long name right there. I like short, simple stuff. All right, so those are the pros and cons of this. We put it out early, like this is April. We have this out already, but technically this is the May edition. But we like to do it at least like 2-3 weeks early. You know what I mean? Because it's a newsletter. It takes some time to mail and stuff like that there. So this is the May 2024 Asiatic year, 15,110 a.m. or after Mahdi. That means after Mustafa Muhammad, who came to us on Friday, a Jumu'ah, exactly July 4th, 1930. So I thank you for listening to your brother in the struggle for peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality. And in conclusion, remember, I'm not telling you to vote Republican. I'm definitely not telling you to vote Democrat. And I'm definitely not telling you to vote, period. And I'm definitely not telling you not to vote. I'm telling you to do you. You take what I said and what anybody else say, and you piece it apart. And you take the best parts and you reach your own conclusions. The struggle continues. Peace.